this interview, Justin, should I be modest or are we gonna pretend we're gonna win something?
I think you should just be you, Mike.
Oh, super arrogant. Got it.
I'm ready. Are you ready to just dive right in?
Yeah, I mean, yes. You have questions for our
I
award
do.
prospects?
Yeah, man.
I want to start by saying it's not a movie. It's a video I made on my computer, and it's been done for 2 years. It's hilarious that we're even eligible for anything, and it's a 1080p YouTube video that for some reason is 2 hours. So if we won over any real movie in any category of any award show, it would be hilarious.
Well, I think what a fitting end for this film's journey. You know what I mean? If something as hilarious as that actually happened. But no, I mean, like you said, this has been like a kind of a 2 year run for you. I know it's been a long run of promotion, I think longer than actually making the movie. Is that right?
No, the movie took 4 years,
Okay.
really. From the time we started writing and boarding to the actual world premiere was like 4 years. And then it's yeah, just been doing festivals and then various releases for 2 years after that. And yeah, it just keeps going. I imagine in 6 years from now, I'll still be doing interviews about it.
Yeah, well, it's worth the promotion for sure. I mean, I have more questions that I want to ask about the promotion side of it later, but I want to talk about the film itself because there is no reason this movie should work. I don't know how you made this movie work, but it really does. It's just incredible. The slapstick genre doesn't really exist anymore, and neither does sort of like Looney Tunes style zaniness. What was it about this style of comedy that made you say this is the sort of thing I need to make?
I think just when you grow up watching movies on DVD from the library, or you're kind of agnostic about release year, so you don't care what's new and what's old because you're watching 100 years worth of movies all at the same time. So for me, I just have my favorite genre of slapstick, which I just watched for the first time the same time I watched every other type of film. So it wasn't, and you're just allowed to make any movie you want. So I just, it was just a genre we liked, and we didn't think too hard about the fact that it's been dead for decades.
What were those films that you said gathering up the films at the library? I'm sure you were a blockbuster guy like I was. What were the films that you were kind of gathering up that helped inspire Hundreds of Beavers?
Oh, I just think my teenage years were spent with a lot of Buster Keaton, Abbott and Costello, various other silent film stars who I won't mention to so that we focus on Buster Keaton. Uh, Woody Allen, the early funny ones, uh, Zucker movies, obviously, uh, Cohen movies, the early funny ones, the middle funny ones, and the later funny ones. I don't know. That's not really slapstick, but I guess the Sam Raimi Evil Dead blew our mind. I love the Bob Hope and Bing Crosby movies. I'm just going to name all movies if we keep going. What influenced Hundreds of Beavers? Hundreds of Beavers is ripped off from a Lubitsch film called The Wildcat. That's a little underseen, but it has just a lot of scenes in the snow and strong shapes and images. So the silent film also just fit our resources. If you only have four guys in the woods in Wisconsin and you just build a film around your resources, which are friends willing to fall in the snow, no lighting for interiors, so it's all exteriors. And I was proficient in After Effects at that time, but at this point, I hope to never do it again.
I was going to ask you about the visual effects. We'll get to that in a minute. But when you approached this film, I hear a lot of the decisions were made out of necessity for the crew that you had, the resources that you had. So did you approach the film gags first or like getting the story structure right?
The story structure is a super simple Joseph Campbell structure with a little more rigor surrounding video gamifying survival rules and inventory consistency, but it is a silent film and a video game slapped onto a really simple two-page treatment of a Campbellian hero arc, and then just had a ton of gag ideas on note cards that slowly got moved around this hero's arc. And then after months, we kind of had the structure. And then before the first winter and in between the two winters of shooting, I boarded everything in Storyboard Pro, which is Toon Boom's storyboard software competitor to Photoshop, and made an animatic from that, but also just PDFs of every single shot that we carried out into the woods and just crossed off shots as we got them over 12 weeks of shooting and two winters.
Was it more challenging to storyboard out all the gags, to film the gags, or to actually do the compositing? Which of those like posed the biggest challenge for you?
Yeah, they were all unpleasant in their own way. Thinking of a gag is really fun because you laugh for 10 seconds and then it's not really funny to you again. And you slowly draw the board and then you slowly drive out into the woods and put a mascot costume on and shoot that gag in the middle of the woods. And it's wrong 8 times and you kind of get it on the ninth time. And then you slowly fix all the imperfections in After Effects. But at least then you're indoors and you're drinking and listening to podcasts. And so by the time it's done, 4 years after you had the idea, it hasn't been funny to you for 4 years, but you do eventually get to hear other people laugh at the gag. Which was most challenging? I mean, it's annoying to walk into the woods and shoot something, but structuring the movie is the whole point and the part that's hard.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's good. Well, very few directors tackle their own visual effects. You said earlier you hope to never dive into After Effects ever again. Is that true, or do you still see yourself having a hand in visual effects for future projects?
Um, I now have strong opinions on visual effects from having done Beavers myself, but ideally in the future, there's more delegation. Ideally in the future, someone else is boarding it, someone else is filming it, someone else is directing it, someone else is doing the VFX, and someone else is releasing it. And I don't do anything, but I inexplicably make money and just show up to the theater and watch it and laugh.
That's a good plan for the future, man. I think that could happen.
I think, yeah, delegation should reach a point where I'm lounging and robots are making the whole thing.
Yeah, well, we're heading towards that future for sure. Uh, there are a few specific elements of the film that I really want to highlight, that I really hope other people pay attention to when as they're discovering Hundreds of Beavers, or if they've seen it before, we just don't forget. First of all, the visual effects, which we already talked about, are really great. Actually, I know you were sitting at your computer doing it all yourself, but it works so well in the context of the film. So, what were the rules that you sort of gave yourself to make sure you could accomplish this by yourself in After Effects?
Establish a look that's shitty. And if a shot looks too good, dumb it down. And if another shot looks too bad, zhuzh it up so that everything is at a middle road of not very believable, simple lo-fi images that are covered in grain and black and white, and the whites are kind of blown out and the blacks kind of fall off. Anything you can so that you're not responsible for like a high fidelity VFX image. If you establish a shitty look early on, like South Park did, you're more unlimited in your writing and gag ideas and in the size of your VFX staff and budget. You're unlimited in what you can do. Did that make sense?
It did. It did. When did you I know you were joking, but earlier you mentioned this as like a YouTube video that happened to get an audience. It's obviously much more than a YouTube video. This is a legitimate movie. When did it start to feel that way to you? That this wasn't just you and your friends goofing off, but like that real audiences were seeing this and this was turning into be a thing.
Slowly during festivals, getting the laughs we planned to get was very satisfying, but Bob Berto's sound design is really what made it a real movie. Um, some people don't like the pacing now, but the pacing was trash before the sound design. And the whole movie was kind of counting on that these hard cuts would be funny with the sound design, the runners would be funny with original sound effects, and that the music would keep us moving the whole time. I mean, getting those DeWolf tracks, the library music, along with Chris Ryan's original music and Wayne Tooze's song, all that music and sound stuff elevated it to a real movie, which it didn't feel like when we were just collecting footage.
You mentioned a lot of the things that I wanted to specifically highlight. The sound design is legitimately some of the best of the year. I mean, the sound work is incredible. I think people often underestimate comedic sound design, which isn't super easy. That's a difficult thing to do. It's hard making things sound realistic, like most movies do, but making things sound unrealistic in a funny way is challenging. Tell me about working with him to develop the sound design.
We just have a lot of strong opinions on what's funny in sound. And the movie's a joke, obviously, but the sound design is legitimately amazing. And yeah, I really do hope Bob Berto is considered for sound awards because, like, I'm biased because his work is exactly to my taste, but like, he just did my favorite sound work I've heard in a long time. I'm like really proud that his work is on my silly movie. We just have a lot of strong opinions on what's funny in sound and making simple, strong choices and what kind of hits are funny and when it's funny to go to be silent and when it's funny to be loud. I mean, he worked 9 months at the sound design
It pays off.
and engineered a lot of original sound effects for those runners. Uh, he did the whole thing as, ADR post audio for all the noises. The Foley was done by Joanna Fang, who we both went to NYU with. She now does like Sony Foley, like she did the Foley for like God of War.
Mm, wow.
And I'm glad we had a video game Foley artist on our video game film.
Yeah, it absolutely fits. Yeah. The other thing you mentioned was Wayne Tooze's song, Gene Kayak. It is such a good song. It gets in your head and just kind of sticks there. Tell me about working with Wayne and how this song came to be and how what direction you gave to him to make this song work.
Well, he's a great lyricist, and we just told him the story, uh, and what we were kind of trying to set up at the beginning of this movie. So he wrote the lyrics. He did an amazing job. I would give lyric notes, and he's like, "That's not how a lyric works," and he would write something much better. And my reference for him was just the theme song for Daniel Boone and the theme song in the Disney short about Johnny Appleseed. I think Fess Parker wrote both of those, and they just have this great frontier Americana buoyancy.
Yeah,
And so,
he captures that.
yeah, I just wanted it to feel like a Disney Americana, like Christmas TV special or something.
I think he nails it, and he also brings like it feels a little wrong to use the word maturity, but he does. He brings like it has that classic feel, exactly what you're describing, but then kind of brings a little bit of melancholy to it that also kind of works. So yeah, I think it works really well.
Good. That's nice to hear. Yeah. Yeah, I think the whole sound thing is hilariously the sound and music in this film is like hilariously elevated for how cheap the production was. Like the visual side of things is really cheap and lo-fi, but the sound is super polished.
Yeah. Well, I think your work really paid off because the movie is incredible. As we talked about earlier, you've been promoting this movie for more than 2 years. I'm sure it's getting draining having these conversations over and over and over again. But honestly, this release strategy is one of the most impressive I've seen from an indie film in recent years. Whose brainchild was this release strategy, the road show, and also the social media campaign that's been running?
Yeah, so Kurt Ravenwood, his marketing company is SRH. They own a part of the film company, the Hundreds of Beavers company. So they're kind of paid through ownership instead of us trying to raise the budget to pay a marketing company who's not as invested as our friend Kurt is. And Kurt put so much time and energy and the resources of his amazing team at SRH into figuring out the best way to release a movie. And it's been going on 2 years and there's no good model. So we kind of invented our own model with the way we split the rights up. Uh, the marketing campaign pivoted several times during the festival run and the road show and now the theatrical release. He was responding to the way people engaged with the movie, figuring out what the voice and the tone and the brand is took a while. Luckily, we started with a title that's easy to market and like a iconic central image of a mascot beaver. But Kurt's work was amazing, and then him and his partners, Matt and Sam at SRH, I just think that was like as difficult as and as impressive as any department on the actual film.
100%. I mean, if this film had just gotten dumped to a streaming service before the run, it's easy to imagine it not getting the recognition it deserves. So I know
There were many opportunities to just dump it, and we wanted to make sure it found an audience, especially when we were at festivals seeing how much fun it was to watch with a group.
yes, 100%. Theatrical viewing experience for this is phenomenal. Have as the word has gotten out about Hundreds of Beavers, have you gotten any feedback or positive notes from other filmmakers, other prominent filmmakers? Like I ask because I have to imagine someone like Tarantino would love this movie.
Daniel Scheinert of the Daniels called it the future of cinema. Why? As a goof. That's my message here today is the movie is a joke, it's a goof. Wouldn't it be hilarious if it won an award? Like when you ironically pick somebody for prom king. My message to any awards voters is in this life, you have to do what's funniest. And wouldn't it be funny if a cheap movie made by Wisconsin drunks won an award and the award was accepted by a beaver in a mascot costume and no one else showed up? Wouldn't that be funny?
It would. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. That is the funniest outcome that could happen. Yeah, I love it. Anybody other than Daniel Schreiner? Have you heard from anybody else that or positive notes or encouragement?
Mike Reese of The Simpsons really liked it. Joe Dante is a fan of Hundreds of Beavers, and many others. Yeah, so we've gotten recognition from people whose careers we've admired, which is very strange. Again, it's a joke. The movie is a goof, and it would be funny. It's funny that it's receiving attention and being treated like a real movie. And I appreciate everyone paying actual money for what is a joke.
Well, I've already said it. I fully disagree with your take that this movie is just a goof because I think it's great. Well, last question for you before I let you go. Like you said, it's been multiple years now since you wrapped production on Hundreds of Beavers, and you've been promoting it for these past few years. I understand you moved on to making other films. What were the biggest learnings that you're taking from Hundreds of Beavers into future projects?
Maybe we should follow the Adam Sandler path of writing exterior Hawaiian resort instead of writing exterior winter Wisconsin forest. That might make life more pleasant.
Oh, we just lost Mike. Where'd he go?
I'll just say the truth. My laptop died because I'm not a professional. It's the level of quality you can expect from this film if you pay for it, and from me if you decide to work with me in Hollywood. That is who I am. I could tell you, oh, sorry, this was a fluke. This one movie looked kind of crappy, or this meeting had a laptop problem. That's not who I am. Don't believe people when they tell you who they are verbally. It's just the repeated screw-ups that define them.
Well, if you view Hundreds of Beavers as a screw up, I can't wait to see your successes because I think this movie is phenomenal. And so many people are still discovering it. I can't wait for more people to discover it. And especially any voting bodies out there to discover it because it is absolutely worth the watch.
Yeah, if you're a voting body, you should watch Hundreds of Beavers with some beers and some friends and have a good time. We worked very hard to make something that's entertaining and hopefully funny. And if you like slapstick, it's back. It's a great American genre that laid dormant for decades for no reason at all. And we're getting a lot of credit for being the people to bring it back, but it doesn't have to be a one-time fluke. Ideally, this is just what movies are from now on. No talking and mascots.
Well, Mike, I appreciate your time. Any what future projects you want to shout out? Are you working on a film right now?
Yeah, I'm working on a film. Should be lots of fun. Stay tuned. put my name in your Google alerts. And the last movie took 6 years and was pretty good. So we think that if we spend 12 years on the next one, it'll be twice as good.
Incredible.
And again, my campaign message for our awards campaign is: wouldn't it be funny if Hundreds of Beavers won something over a real movie? Wouldn't that be a good goof? So in this life, you have to do what's funniest. Vote for Hundreds of Beavers.
I love it. Well, we'll see you in 12 years with your next film. Mike, it was great chatting with you, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Daniel. Have a good one.
You as well.